It's October, which means it's time for another deck intentions video. In this video, I'm going to be sharing the decks that I plan to use this October 2025. So let's dive right in. But first, whether you are new or returning, welcome back to the channel, and please do share which decks you plan to use this October. Now, as we head towards the season of Samhain at the end of October, this month for me is all about embracing shadow work and decks that are going to help me do that. In addition to that, you may remember that I mentioned I was working with the Morrighan. This is a page from my journal. Here she is. This is how she presented herself to me, and that is my visual guide to explore my shadowy aspects, if you like. And because the Morrighan is associated with crows, I'm very excited to be using the MJ Cullinay's Crow Tarot. So this is a new deck to me. It's not brand new. This was in fact my mum's, but she decided after a year of trying to dabble with tarot that it wasn't quite with her for her. Obviously she got into it when I got into it, and she loves crows, and I've only done one reading with this and it was very insightful. This is a very familiar deck. This has been out for quite a while, but if you haven't seen this deck, it's a really good reader, and if you love crows, then I think you will like this deck. Now, I already had the accompanying Urban Crow Oracle, so naturally I am going to be working with these two decks together, really using the Oracle as a clarifier. And my hope is that this will help me to connect with the Morrighan, using that sort of crow energy, and obviously crows being messengers from the underworld, trying to gain that more shadowy insight, which I'm super excited to be working with this month. Do comment below if you have either of the crow decks, or in fact any of MJ's decks. I know some of you out there have quite a big collection of hers, and she has got several decks out now, but they are wonderful. I forgot to mention last month, but I am also working with the Season of the Witch Mabon, or some people call it Mabon, I'm not sure, but Mabon is how I pronounce it. This deck has been doing the rounds naturally. Obviously we had the equinox last week, and it is a super beautiful deck. Tiziana, the illustrator, has really captured this idea of, you know, the seasons turning from summer into autumn, and this idea that we're going now into a more restful transitional period from sort of being quite active in the summer to rest. I just love the muted colours in this deck, and it's actually quite a dark deck. Obviously you'd expect the Samhain deck to be really dark, but there are some quite also shadowy images in this deck, and I think this will work really nicely. In fact, I know that the Urban Crow deck and this deck look lovely together. With my Mabon deck, I'm going to try something new this month. My last video was about how I've evolved my tarot journal, and this, I started doing this after making that video, but in terms of the Mabon deck, I want to do it as a daily draw. This is something I've tried in the past and haven't been very successful with, and I know a lot of you probably don't write or record your daily readings, but I don't know, there's something about recording readings, even if it's just a small reading, I quite like, because then you can track the sort of messages and themes that you're getting from the cards. So I am just going to be doing a visual tracker. So I actually started doing this the last couple of days of September, and I haven't actually done, oh no, I did do today's, and just sort of see what symbols come up each day. And I'm hoping, you know, by the time we get to the end of the month, it might have gone on to the next page, but it'll be a really interesting visual tracker of the messages that I've been getting from that deck. Comment below, do you ever do something like that? I know in my poll that I did with how you record your tarot readings, it was really mixed and diverse, and actually thank you for anybody that took part in that and contributed, just to see how we all record our tarot readings. And yeah, it does seem to be a mixture of words, images, stickers. So yeah, I don't have stickers, but this is my sort of, I guess, my attempt of doing it just completely visually. So I will let you know how that goes on, as a little tarot experiment, if you like. In terms of tarot decks, I introduced this deck to you in my last intentions video, which is the TOMAR Tarot, and this was accompanied by a rather beefy manual, which isn't actually available at the moment other than a PDF form, and I was lucky enough to get a copy as a beta reader. Oh my word, if you're into the astrology side of tarot, now I've had a chance to read the book in a little bit more in depth, I'm absolutely blown away by the information, and the information that's been put in to this manual by the creator Debs Allen has really shed a lot of light on tarot, and it's filled in a lot of gaps that maybe weren't in some of the other tarot books that I've got. And if you're interested in which tarot books I've got, I do have a video about that, where I sort of compare them. But this information that is in the TOMAR Tarot accompanying book is absolutely fascinating, and if you're a tarot geek and if you're interested in the history of tarot, I would definitely recommend checking it out. I'll put all the details below of how you can do that. And excitingly, I've been in conversation with Debs, and hopefully I'm going to get her on the channel where she can talk about this to you and explain the ethos behind this deck, which I'm super excited about. I'm not entirely sure when, but that is going to be up and coming in the next couple of months, so watch this space. And whilst this maybe is not quite as shadowy as some of the other decks I'm going to be working with, I want to carry on working with this deck this month, purely because I'm enjoying reading the book so much, and I can see how this is going to deepen my tarot practice to a whole new level. So very excited by that. Sticking with shadowy decks, the wonderful Elaine from Tarot Tats and Tea talked about this next deck, and I totally agreed with her evaluation and instincts about this deck, but it's the Phantomwise Tarot, and I do have a video on this if you're not familiar with this deck. But yeah, I mean, it's a black and white deck for starters, and even though it's quite whimsical, there's something about this deck which has a bit of a, I'm trying to think of the word, an edge to it, if you like. An edge, but with a positive outline. That's the only way I can describe it. I'll have to go back and watch Elaine's video, because she described it much better than I'm trying to express at the moment. But yeah, this is a fabulous reader. I love this deck, and it hasn't been out to play this year, so I feel like its time to shine is possibly this month. And other decks that I'm feeling quite drawn to is the Hush. And this really, if you're not familiar with the Hush, again, I have a video on this one. This is a bit of a Marmite deck. Some people love it. Some people really don't get on with it at all because, to be fair, some of the images are a little bit disturbing, like this one here. That's a really good example. This sort of bird-like woman. She's got her head stuck to a, I think it's like a chicken or a pheasant or something, and there's a lot of skulls in this deck. And I know other people have completely abandoned using it as a tarot deck. It is a challenging deck, mostly because the images don't always align with the traditional tarot meanings. And I spoke a lot about that in the video I did about this deck. So I'm in two minds as to whether I will use it as a tarot or just use it more as an oracle. Because there is something about this deck, and I said this before, that just sort of draws me in and fascinates me, even though it is a little bit disturbing. And on a similar vein, but probably a lot more accessible, and many of you will know that I do like this next deck. And actually I've just realised it's another MJ colour name deck, is the Enchanted Forhaxa Tarot. That's what the box looks like. Because this definitely also has a shadowy energy, but in terms of using it as a tarot deck, I think it's a lot more accessible. MJ's very skilled at adding all the symbols and in the information to help you use it as a tarot deck, whereas with the Hush you have to work a little bit harder. But I don't think I've used either of these decks this year. This one may be at the beginning of the year, so it would be nice to reacquaint myself with these decks as well. So in terms of sort of tarot practice, they're the predominant decks that I'm going to be using. But I'm feeling very drawn, whilst doing the sort of deity goddess work with the Morrighan, I'm also feeling very drawn to kind of moon energy. So I think I'll be getting out my Moonolgy decks and try and reconnect with some of the moon phases, because I started doing that a while back, and I think it was that work that I did with sort of new moon manifesting that actually was the final prompt I needed to get going with this YouTube channel. But I feel like I need another boost, if you like, so I'm going to be getting those out. And obviously we've got the new moon, the full moon happening sometime next week. I want to say the 7th, but it could be the 9th. So hopefully be doing a big moon reading and sort of getting back into that sort of mindset of working with yeah, those lunar energies. And finally, there's going to be some other decks that I'm going to be getting out, but this is going to be over on Instagram. So this month I've decided to take part in an Instagram challenge. I think the hashtag is October Magic 25, and the theme is Season of the Witch, but looking at the 3 aspects of the triple goddess, so Maiden, Mother, Crone. And there's a whole list of daily prompts from today, which at the time of recording it's the 1st of October, up until the 18th, and it's been split into 3 groups of 7. So the first 7 prompts are for the Maiden aspect, the next 7 is for the Mother, and the last 7 prompts is for the crone energy, and I've selected different decks for the different aspects. You can do this however you like. I've been following these prompts for quite a while, and I don't always get involved in the challenges, and if you're interested, I will pop the information down below if you're on Instagram again as well. It's a lovely community over there, and it's mainly hosted by an account called Glitter by Ink, and she gets in co-hosts. You are invited to put an image of a card which you think that relates to that particular prompt, and what a lot of people do, they will have one deck which carries them throughout, and some people will maybe use multiple decks. I'm going to be using multiple decks, which I'll talk about in a moment. You know, there's no right or wrong answer, so it's a really lovely way of exploring your own knowledge to do with tarot or oracle cards, and just sharing your ideas with the community. And all of these posts always get a lot of comments, and you know, people come up with some really lovely and pertinent and wise words in relationship to these prompts. So if you're on Instagram, I'd highly recommend checking this out this month. But in terms of what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be using the I Am Queen Oracle for the maiden phase, just because I feel like this is a very kind of inner child, inner princess. I know it says queen, but sort of like when you're a child, this is how you, or maybe I imagined my sort of queen princess state would look like, and I shared this one last month. For the mother aspect, I'm going to be using the Wild Woman Oracle. I have flipped through this before, but just to give you a taste of what it looks like. Very charming, detailed images here, all with sort of feminine energies and sort of feminine deities that we could be working with. And for the crone aspect, I'm using the Celtic goddess, witches and queens, and this has got a very different vibe, a strong, powerful female characters that were present in the kind of, well, as it says, Celtic times. So yeah, and I might get this one out for my Morrighan work as well. In fact, I think I could use any 3 of those decks to complement the Morrighan work. So I might end up using all of them as well. So lots and lots of decks to be playing with this month. Yeah, looking forward to actually the nights drawing in and sort of doing some deep dives with the decks that I've selected. Do share what you are planning on doing this month. Also mention if you have used or planning to use any of the decks that I've mentioned. I absolutely love it when I see other creators using the same deck as me at the same time. There's a sort of magic in that synchronicity. So yeah, shout out if any of those are going to be in your practice this month. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed seeing the crazy thoughts that I have about tarot and why I'm using them, and how I'm going to be using them. If it was helpful, give it a thumbs up, that would be really appreciated. And I do genuinely appreciate you joining me today and sharing this wonderful world of tarot and oracle cards with me today. Until the next video, here's a couple of other videos you can watch in the meantime. I'm Sally, this is my channel, Vaudeville Manor, House of Art and Tarot, and sending much love out to you wherever you are. I hope you find some peace and joy in your day. Bye bye.